Thank you, Speaker. And my question is to the Minister for Innovation and Skills. Is the Department of Innovation and Skills blocking TAFE SA's ability to offer fee-for-service business administration and community services courses in metropolitan Adelaide?
The Minister for Education. Order. Order. The Minister for Education has the call. The Minister. Order. Members on my right and members on my left, I remind members the questioner is entitled to be heard in silence. The Minister for Education has the call and is entitled to be heard in silence in answer to the question. The Minister for Education.
Look, I thank the member for the question. There were changes last year to a number of courses on the subsidised training list, which is, of course, in the Department for Innovation and Skills, and fee-for-service delivery is obviously more a matter for the TAFE board, and they report to me. So the fact in relation to the changes made by the Department for Innovation and Skills is a function of the fact that obviously the government is committed to ensuring that students who are wanting to have careers get high-quality careers, and businesses and industries that need a skilled workforce have that workforce supported. Now, this government, the Department of Innovation and Skills and TAFE SA and the Department for Education and the entire Cabinet and the government have a view that those are the two key factors that we make our priorities in setting policy. What do we do for the students to support their future career prospects, and what do we do for businesses and industries to ensure they have the skilled workforce to build prosperity and create jobs in South Australia? And I think that it is reasonable that the Department for Innovation and Skills, in commissioning vet from TAFE and from non-government providers in South Australia, has a mindset to quality and a mindset to cost, and what is going to be in the best interest of the people of South Australia. Now, TAFE SA has done an extraordinary job over the last 3 years in turning around the ruined and degradation reputation left by those opposite. After 16 years of government, they corporatised TAFE, they set up new legislation, and that had government oversight over a board and over an organisation. And then they failed to provide that oversight. And we saw the extraordinary catastrophe that hit TAFE in 2017 as a result. And they sacked the chair of the board, and they let go the chief executive of the organisation, and they promoted the minister responsible to deputy leader of the Labor Party. Now, we worked very hard over a series of years to improve the quality, to the point where, having failed 16 out of 16 audited courses in 2017, in 2018 we passed the audit and then followed that up the following year with a 7-year re-accreditation for the TAFE SA organisation, ensuring that the quality that was required met the national training standards expectations. And that was the work that was undertaken under this government. That was the work undertaken by the TAFE staff under this government. But can I tell you, one of the consequences of that failed Labor mismanagement was that pretty much more than it was reported by the former Chief Executive Alex Reid to me, that more than half of all TAFE staff across the organisation had to be involved in fixing course design, had to be involved in ensuring that the failures of the former government to ensure that those courses met the national training package's quality standards and expectations. More than half of TAFE staff during that year had to be involved in that rescue package of the quality product. And that had extraordinary challenges for TAFE in its cost consequence. There was an investment by this government over a series of 3 budgets well in excess of $100 million in helping TAFE along that rescue package. But it leaves a cost challenge and a cost pressure. And when we're trying to get an outcome for the students who want a quality training package to ensure that they can get a career, and indeed for workplaces and industries who need that workforce to be delivered, we want the quality. Now, TAFE deliver quality, and not-for-profit non-government training providers also deliver quality, and some private providers also deliver quality in some of these areas. And we also look at cost. And when the TAFE package is 4 times more expensive than a training provider in a not-for-profit or a private provider who is delivering at the same quality, then of course the government is going to be mindful of that as well. And there were some changes made last year. They've been ventilated publicly and they have been described. And now there are some different arrangements in place. Now, this has led to some concerns from the unions, some job losses. I think, a tiny proportion of the job losses in the last couple of years compared to the, I think, more than 600 job losses in the last 6 years of Labor. And I can find those details if you'd like. An extraordinary and arbitrary and ad hoc series of job cuts when Labor was in power. We have transitioned some courses that are capable of being delivered by the non-government or indeed the not-for-profit sector at the same quality but at lower cost. We can get more outcomes for students, we can get better outcomes for industry and business.
Order. The time for answering the question has expired, and I note the momentary glitch in the technology. Continue to monitor that closely. The member for Wright.
Thank you, Speaker. A supplementary question to the Minister for Education. I refer to the Minister's previous answer and ask, how does cutting TAFE courses help ensure that students have access to high-quality courses?
The Minister for Education.
That's an entirely rhetorical question, and I would make...
Order.
Just tell him again.
Order. The member for Lee will cease interjecting. The Minister for Education has the call. Minister for Education.
Didn't realise the member for Lee was such an expert in Cert 3s and TAFE courses.
The Minister for
else.
Education will respond to the question and not to interjections. The Minister for Education has the call.
Thank you. I appreciate your counsel. No, the question is entirely rhetorical and it betrays a lack of understanding of either how the training sector works as a whole. It betrays a lack of understanding of the interplay between private companies that want staff and indeed the not-for-profit group training organisations and RTOs that they kept supporting throughout the dim years following what was it, Skills for All, that disastrous program that was set up so badly by the former government, and then the dramatic cutting in funding that the former government put in, where they basically cut the not-for-profit and non-government training sector completely out of all subsidised training, 90% out, and indeed yet still some of these companies, because they wanted a quality product that met their needs and expectations, kept funding these GTOs and RTOs, even though it cost them a lot more than it might have cost them to do the same training at TAFE. And what does that tell you? That tells you that there was a quality there in the marketplace that they were able to fund, that they were willing to fund because they felt it better met their needs and their aspirations. And their alternative, of course, was to follow the member for Port Adelaide, the Deputy Leader's training model of giving everything to TAFE SA, when they had a 16 out of 16 failure in their accreditation under ASQA. A catastrophe for the TAFE brand and a catastrophe for confidence in training in South Australia, given to the people of South Australia and those students and those businesses and industries, courtesy of the Labor government as it was then. So, quality training can happen at TAFE, and it does happen at TAFE now, meeting the National Training Package's expectations, which we've decided is actually important. It was part of our election policy that quality was going to be a key part of it, that the expectations of the TAFE executive would be entirely collectively required to be related to quality, and indeed the board has a quality committee. The board has appointed a senior executive to ensure quality, and the fruit of that labour and the labour of so many thousands, well over 1,000 hard-working TAFE staff who worked on this project was to deliver a package that met the needs of industry, that met the needs of the training package requested by ASQA and the national arrangement. So we are comfortable now that TAFE is delivering that quality package. We are also comfortable that when a not-for-profit is established by a series of businesses and industries in South Australia, that not-for-profit is supported by those industries who choose to send their students there, there's a reasonable chance, and it meets the expectations of ASQA, there's a reasonable chance that that too will meet the quality expectations. And if the member for Wright and the Leader of the Opposition and the Opposition as a whole think that non-government training providers are unable to deliver a quality product, and that maybe is the reason why they cut all funding to it about 8 years ago, maybe that is, then I think they should go and talk to the hundreds and hundreds of staff in non-government training providers in South Australia and industries that want those training providers to have an option to them. And indeed, sir, I encourage those opposite to have a chat to some of the GTOs about how they do their work. Sometimes TAFE works really well hand in glove with some of these providers. But the key thing is, are the students getting the quality they want? Are businesses and industries getting the students they want? And if those things are being met, then the government is doing its job of supporting a good training market in South Australia.